The sea holds secrets that even the deepest trenches cannot keep forever. When we approached the Ourang Medan, the air felt heavy, burdened by an inexplicable stillness from our lungs. There was no sign of a struggle, no wreckage. The bull stands at the helm. Yet the lifeboats were untouched. It felt as if the ship itself was holding its breath, waiting for a reaper that had already finished its work.
The ocean is a vast, unforgiving desert of water. In the winter of 1947, for help pierced the silence over the Straits of Malacca. Multiple ships operating nearby picked up a frantic, erratic SOS signal cutting through the static. It wasn't just a plea for rescue, it was a broadcast of pure, unadulterated terror. The operators' hands on the neighboring vessels trembled as the Morse code out words of doom. The transmission was broken, coming from a Dutch freighter known as the SS Ourang Medan.
In the other end, desperate and fading, began listing the horrors on board. Every dot and dash felt like a nail being driven into a coffin. Then came the words that would haunt maritime history forever, cold and definitive. All officers, including captain, dead, lying in chart room and bridge, whole crew dead.
The message read. The code paused, the heavy static filling the airwaves like the breathing of a monster. Possibly whole crew dead, the phantom operator continued,
his rhythm losing all form. There was a long, agonizing silence, where only the roaring of the sea could be heard. Then, one final phrase drifted through the ether before completely cutting out.
"I die,"
whispered the radio, leaving a chilling void in the ears of the listeners. After that, nothing but absolute, dead silence returned to the freezing radio waves. British and Dutch radar stations scrambled to pinpoint the exact location of the ghost vessel. Two American ships, the Silver Star and the City of Baltimore, immediately turned around. They pushed their engines to the absolute limit, ignoring the dangerous rising swells.
They cut through the black waves, racing toward the exact coordinates of death. As the morning sun broke through a thick, suffocating wall of gray fog, they spotted her. The SS Ourang Medan was drifting aimlessly, its massive engines completely dead and silent. No smoke emerged from its rusty funnels,
and no movement could be seen on the decks. It looked less like a seaworthy ship and more like a floating metal cemetery.
The rescue party stepped onto the rusted deck of the SS Ourang Medan, their boots echoing in the void. A heavy, unnatural cold seemed to radiate from the steel hull.
Despite the sweltering tropical heat outside. The bull led the way, his eyes scanning the gloom as he gripped his gear, tension thick in the air.
Every instinct screamed that they were trespassing on a tomb where the dead were never meant to be found. As they moved toward the bridge, a pungent, chemical stench began to fill their nostrils, sharp and burning. It was not the smell of natural decay, it was something far more artificial, heavy, and deeply unsettling.
They pushed open the heavy bulkhead door, and the light from their torches cut through the darkness was not one of a struggle, but of absolute frozen chaos. The crew lay scattered in strange, impossible positions across the floor and against the bulkheads. Their faces were twisted into masks of sheer, unimaginable terror, eyes wide and staring at nothing. Their mouths were locked in silent screams, as if they had witnessed an ending far too cruel for words. Whatever had hunted the crew of the Ourang Medan had struck them down in a single, collective heartbeat. The captain was found at the helm, his hand still gripped tightly around the wheel as if steering into hell. Even the ship's dog lay curled in a corner, its expression mirroring the human horror surrounding it. There were no signs of physical trauma, no blood, and no violent struggle. The bull knelt down to check, but his hand stopped, feeling the lingering, icy shadow of death. The search party moved deeper into the bowels of the ship, the darkness feeling heavy and alive. The bull motioned for silence, his ears catching a faint,
rhythmic thrumming deep within the engine room. It was not the sound of a working engine, but a pulsing vibration that seemed to match a heartbeat. Every step felt like walking into a trap set by time itself, the air growing colder with each meter. As they reached the lower decks, the metallic tang of the strange, chemical smell became suffocating. They found cargo containers shifted and burst open, their contents spilled out in chaotic, strange patterns. The bull examined a crate, his eyes narrowing as he saw signs of rapid, extreme chemical degradation. The steel floor beneath their feet was pitted and corroded, as if acid had been poured over it recently. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by a low, mournful groan emanating from the depths of the hull.
The team froze, frantically across the dark, narrow corridors of the ship. The bull gripped his gear tighter, his expression hardening as he realized they were not alone in the decay.
The ship seemed to be reacting to their presence, groaning like a wounded beast refusing to die. They pushed forward, ignoring the primal urge to turn back and flee into the safety of the sunlight. Ahead, the door to the primary cargo hold stood ajar, swaying slightly on its rusted, broken hinges. A sickly, pale fog began to pour out from the opening,
Swirling around their boots like spectral fingers. The bull stepped forward, peering into the abyss, his nerves tested by the overwhelming sense of dread.
the phantom vessel of the high seas. Inside the cargo hold, the air turned viscous, making every breath a struggle against the encroaching dark. The bull swept his light across the space, revealing rows of crates marked with unrecognizable, faded symbols. Whatever this ship was transporting, it was never meant to be opened, and certainly not by a boarding party. The intensity of the chemical odor spiked, causing the men to choke in sudden confusion. The bull noticed a trail of frozen, distorted liquid leaking from the base of a massive, reinforced container, natural sheen that seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it.
He knelt to inspect it, noting that the metal it touched was warping as if being consumed by intense heat. The reality of the situation hit him. This was not a simple cargo run,
but a disaster of massive proportions. A sudden, sharp metallic ping echoed through the hold, causing the team to jump and draw their gear. The source was the container itself,
which began to bulge outward as if something inside was pushing back. The bull shouted for everyone to back away, his voice echoing off the cold, unforgiving steel walls. The sound of straining metal grew louder, a screeching protest against a pressure that shouldn't exist. They retreated toward the exit, their movements frantic as the atmosphere in the room turned volatile. The bull watched as the container's latch began to glow with a sickly violet light. It was clear that the reaction was reaching a critical point, threatening to consume everything. They barely cleared the hatch before the first tremor of a massive internal collapse shook the entire ship.
the phantom vessel of the high seas. The corridors of the Ourang Medan began to groan, the structural integrity failing rapidly.
The bull sprinted toward the main deck, the tremors throwing him against the cold, iron bulkheads. Every vibration felt like a warning, a desperate scream from a dying vessel that had seen too much. He realized that the cargo they had disturbed was volatile, and the entire ship was a ticking bomb. Back on the upper levels, the team encountered a bizarre phenomenon that defied all natural logic. Instruments began to spin wildly, compasses losing their north, the very air seemed to shimmer, light bending around them in distorted waves.
It felt as if the fabric of reality aboard this ship was thinning. They reached the communication room, intending to radio for an immediate extraction, but found it dead. The wires had been fused together, melted by an intense, unseen heat. The bull slammed his fist against the console, boiling over in his steady, focused eyes.
They were stranded on a ghost ship that was actively training its final fiery breath. The waves churning in sympathy with the instability of the ship. The bull signaled to his team, his gestures sharp and authoritative, guiding them toward the side rails. There was no more time for investigation.
Survival had become the only objective in this floating nightmare. They scrambled toward the waiting rescue boats, their hearts hammering against their ribs like trapped birds.
The phantom vessel of the high seas. As they scrambled over the side, a sudden, blinding flash erupted from the ship's primary cargo bay.
The bull hit the water hard, the freezing temperature shock instantly stealing the breath from his lungs. He surfaced, gasping, only to see the Ourang Medan bathed in an eerie,
pulsating, unnatural glow. It wasn't an explosion of fire, but a release of pressurized, glowing gas that set the night sky ablaze. The shockwave hit their rescue craft like a physical blow, nearly capsizing them in the churning Black Sea. The bull clambered aboard, his clothes freezing against his skin, his eyes locked on the burning ghost ship. He saw figures, or shadows of figures, pressed against the portholes, as if the crew were watching their departure. The hair on his neck stood up. The ship was not just burning, It was being erased from the physical realm. He looked back at the deck one last time and saw the silhouette of the captain standing at the wheel.
Bow rising toward the stars as the water flooded the lower compartments. The sound of tearing metal was replaced by a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through their very bones. They rowed with frantic intensity, putting distance between themselves and the encroaching, silent disaster. The bull gripped the side of the boat,
His knuckles white, watching as the ship fought its own sinking. It wasn't just a vessel going down, it was a dark, forbidden truth being dragged back into the abyss. The sea seemed to pull the ship down with a hungry, possessive force that defied the laws of nature. The phantom vessel of the high seas,
the Ourang Medan slipped beneath the waves with a final, sickening suction that roiled the surface. The bull stared at the spot where the ship had stood,
his mind struggling to process the abrupt disappearance. Within seconds, the violent churning of the water settled into a flat, deceptive calm that felt unnaturally heavy. There was no debris, no oil slick, and no remnants of the massive vessel that had haunted them.
The rescue team sat in silence, the gravity of what they had witnessed stripping them of their words. The bull, his face pale and set in grim determination,
realized they carried a burden of hidden truth. They had entered a tomb and left with the ghosts of a crew that could never be explained. The mystery was now buried in the deepest trenches, unreachable and silenced by the cold ocean floor. News of the incident spread quickly, yet the official records remained frustratingly vague and contradictory. Governments scrambled to downplay the event, citing faulty wiring or accidental cargo ignition as the cause.
The bull knew the truth was far more terrifying, a secret that transcended simple mechanical failure. He kept his observations locked within himself,
knowing that some truths were too dangerous to share. They returned to the port as if nothing had changed, but the world felt different, fragile and uncertain.
The bull wandered the docks, his gaze lingering on the horizon where the line between sea and sky blurred. He felt the weight of those final radio transmissions, the desperate "I die" echoing in his memory. The ghost ship was gone, but the echo of its tragedy would resonate in his consciousness for the rest of his life. The phantom vessel of the high seas. In the days that followed, the official investigation became a masterclass in obfuscation and silence.
The bull watched from the shadows as military officials seized every logbook and recording of the event. It was clear that the Ourang Medan was not just a shipwreck, but a high-level security breach. The truth was being scrubbed from history, replaced by fabricated reports and convenient technical excuses. He spent his nights poring over maps, trying to reconcile the coordinates of that final, dark encounter. The bull discovered that the ship's path was deliberately erratic.
Whatever they were carrying, it wasn't on any manifest, avoiding all major commercial shipping lanes, and it didn't belong to any known government. The dread deepened as he realized that the Ourang Medan was a ghost even before it reached the sea. His associates, the men who had been on the rescue mission,
began to disappear from the public eye. The bull kept his head down, knowing that his unique knowledge made him a target for those who knew. He was a living witness to a crime that the world was being forced to forget by those in power. The isolation was suffocating, a constant reminder of the horrific,
silent screams they had left behind. He visited the harbor master's office, hoping to find a whisper of the truth in the old archives. The bull found only empty folders
and records that had been marked classified in bold black ink. It was as if the ship had never existed, wiped from the ledger of the maritime world entirely. He walked out into the cold morning air, realizing that the ghost ship was now haunting his own reality. The phantom vessel of the high seas. Years have passed, yet the memory of the Ourang Medan remains a sharp, stinging blade in the mind. The bull often stares at the horizon, wondering what dark cargo truly brought that ship to its knees. There are whispers in the maritime underground about experimental chemical weapons and forbidden science. He knows that somewhere, deep in the archives of a shadow agency, the real logs are still gathering dust. He has dedicated his life to piecing together the fragments, finding patterns in the chaos of history.
The bull understands now that the Ourang Medan was likely a pawn in a much larger, global game.
It was a vessel of convenience, used to transport something that could destroy lives without leaving a trace. The terror he felt on that deck was not just from the dead, it was from the realization of human malice. He continues to document the story, ensuring that the lost crew's final cry is never truly forgotten. The bull uses his platform to share these warnings, framing the tale as a cautionary note to the world. He knows the truth is fragile,
Easily crushed under the weight of official lies and manufactured history, but he remains steadfast, a silent guardian of a memory that the powerful desperately want buried.
The ocean has not yielded its final secrets, and the Ourang Medan is merely one chapter of many. The bull prepares his final narrative. Knowing that the truth is a light that must keep burning, he has become the vessel for the story, carrying the weight of the ghosts across the digital expanse. The mystery continues, not in the depths of the sea, but in the minds of those who dare to ask why. The phantom vessel of the high seas.
Chilling reminder of the unknown terrors lurking in our world. The bull stands at the edge of the screen, his gaze fixed on the audience.
His expression solemn and reflective. We may never know the exact cause, whether it was chemical, supernatural, or something far worse.
But the story survives as a warning about the secrets we choose to ignore in the vast, empty reaches of the sea are not meant to be solved.
The bull acknowledges that the ship is gone, but the questions it raised will continue to ripple through time, but rather to serve as beacons in the dark history of humanity.
He pulls his t-shirt tight, the fabric a constant anchor as he looks back at the digital archives he has built. He is the narrator of the forgotten.
The voice that ensures those who died in silence are finally heard. As the series concludes, he leaves the viewers with a lingering sense of unease and profound wonder.
The ocean remains a silent, indifferent witness, guarding its secrets beneath miles of crushing, dark water. The bull fades into the shadows, his work done, leaving the truth to be pondered by those who dare look deeper. This is the final chapter of a ghost story that, for better or worse, refuses to be buried by the waves. The legend continues, a haunting echo of a ship that sailed into the void and never truly returned. The bull stands as the final sentry, his story a bridge between the living and the eternal, quiet abyss. Whatever truth lies at the bottom of the Malacca Strait, it will remain there, waiting in the cold darkness. We bid farewell to the Ourang Medan, a vessel of terror that will haunt our collective memory forever.
The abyss does not give up its secrets easily, but tonight, we pulled a piece of that truth to the surface. The story of the Ourang Medan is more than just a shipwreck. It's a chilling reminder how easily we can be silenced by the unknown. If this story shook you as much as it haunted me, don't let it drift away into the dark.
Hit that like button to keep the truth from sinking, and subscribe to join me as we continue to drag the darkest mysteries from the depths. Share this with those who dare to look into the void, and let me know in the comments, what do you think truly happened in those final, suffocating moments? Was it a weapon of war, or something far beyond our understanding? Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon. I'm Arsima, and the tide is always turning.